So does the exhaustion ever end? Yes and no. Like everyone's experience is different, and even, you know, subsequent pregnancies for you could feel different than this one. But for the most part, most people that I've worked with say that second trimester is just this magical, you can
Yeah.
eat things that you're used to eating again, and you have energy, and all of the fatigue and nausea of the first trimester are gone for the most
Yeah.
part, without having all the discomfort of the baby being so big. So which week are you in now?
This is end of week 11, so I'll be week
Oh,
12
you're
next week. So
very
I'm
close.
like getting where
Almost
I see
there.
light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. And so I think a good mantra for pregnancy and even motherhood or parenting is like, this is a phase, or like this will pass.
Yeah.
Because, you know, first trimester will end, second trimester will could present its own challenges, but those will change with in the third trimester, that will have its own challenges. Labor will be challenging in other new ways, but all of it is temporary.
Sure.
And then even once you get into raising kids, like the potty training phase is temporary, and it's all just kind of
Yeah.
a short phase leading to the next. But it definitely, like, the exhaustion is real. Like I have clients falling asleep at work, and you
Hmm.
just have to do your best. So
Yeah. Yeah. I had to take, I had to chaperone a group of our older adults on a
mhm.
day trip today. And usually I take a longer lunch right now, and that wasn't an option. I had to drive them to this little town an hour from Shreveport. And
Yeah.
by the end of the trip, I was just like exhausted and also emotionally repelled by them. I was like, stay away from me. Don't talk
Yeah,
to
no
me.
one talked to me.
Just gonna get you home.
Yeah.
So feeling a little guilty about not being as present with people, but also trying to be generous with myself that
Yes,
like this is a
for
different
sure.
time. So
Yeah. So this is Kelsey who just came on. Kelsey, this is Alex.
hi.
My great, or just grand,
No, great, great grand
great
little.
grand little from my sorority in college. She was a freshman, I was a senior.
Yep.
Right, because it's Jesse, Mora Jesse you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Kelsey is a client in Tulsa. So
Oh,
if
nice.
you guys want to share, like introduce you and your pregnancy to each other, you're welcome to. So Alex, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Alex, and I know Sprank from undergrad. Um, I live in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm 32, and I'm at like in the middle of 11 weeks. So in the first, looking forward to getting out of the first trimester. It's my
Yeah.
first pregnancy. So this is just all new, exciting, but also definitely, I'm a one on the Enneagram. I don't know if I
We do
know, I don't
Enneagram. Yeah.
okay.
Nice.
And definitely I'm a control freak. So this whole just having to go with the flow, which I guess is good practice for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
has been
Yeah.
a good hard learning curve for me. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm a pastor at a Presbyterian church, which is a progressive Christian denomination. Um,
Nice.
yeah. And so that does give me weird hours, which sometimes is really great and sometimes is not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Well, nice to meet you. Congrats on your baby.
thank
Um,
you.
I am 33 and I have one son who's 3, and I think we'll be 13 weeks on Sunday.
That's
Um,
great.
Exciting.
Yeah. You're
I
like on the cusp of second trimester. So
yes.
some people say like week 13 is the start. Some people say like end of week 13. So are you noticing a change? Like, can you tell that you're out of first yet?
Um, no, I don't know how yours has been, Alex. Mine's been pretty great. I mean, I haven't
Oh,
had any morning sickness or anything, so I feel just like normal now. Maybe just like a normal amount of tired. I did take a nap today and it was lovely.
Yeah. But you were
Um,
having some like fatigue, like tiredness
yeah, like an
before.
instant, can't do anything unless I eat or lay down, like just like instant exhaustion, which is happened with my first pregnancy as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm stay-at-home mom to my son Franklin. Soon to be not. It's not even that soon. I feel like we have forever until the new baby, but um, yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
doing a half
So
marathon on Sunday. I'm very excited.
yes.
Um, yeah,
So I
that's all I
think
can think of right now.
we we were talking about right before you got on, like managing expectations around the exhaustion and just giving yourself grace and like understanding that there's not a lot that you can do. Like it's not because you're not letting yourself sleep enough. Like I don't think that there is a cure for it. Not cure, but like a prevention. And so just figuring out how to manage it, if you can back off some work stuff, or what can you do around the house with Franklin to help let those periods of rest be restful.
Nice.
And then also, so give yourself grace and then also manage expectations. So I feel like Kelsey will have to have a more specific conversation about like expectations around the race, because when you signed up, you weren't pregnant. We had different goals and objectives. And so we'll just want to manage expectations around that, because it'll just be different than if you weren't pregnant. So
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
okay.
great.
Well, I'm excited for this. Thank you again for participating. So today we're going to go over some breathing techniques that will help like in labor and postpartum as well. So the more that you can practice these kind of before workouts or even just throughout the day, the better. It just keeps you in tune with your core. And then we'll go over some considerations for workout for the second trimester as your belly grows, and just as things change. So if questions come up as I go, definitely feel free to stop and ask them. And then we'll also have a Q&A at the end that can relate to workouts or not. It can be about doctor's appointments you've had recently. If you're anxious or worried about birth, even though it does feel far away, we can touch on some of those things, anything like that. So we have talked about the breathing that we're going to practice is the same as what we do in Sweat Club. I've had videos before in the workouts. But the goal of it is to connect to your deep core. Your transverse abdominis is the deep core, and also to your pelvic floor, because you need your pelvic floor to be relaxed to push the baby out. And so we just want to try to make those connections to those body parts before you're in that position. So quick anatomy review. If you think about your core as a can, happen to have one here. So this is like your diaphragm. So it cuts you into like a top and a bottom half. And then down here is your pelvic floor and your pelvis. And then you've got like on this side, 2 layers, the deep core, and then your 6-pack muscles, and then your obliques on each side with your rib cage, and then your back and your spine. And so the diaphragm and the pelvic floor work together, but oppositely. So when the diaphragm is working to move down, so that's work for the diaphragm, you want the pelvic floor to be relaxed so that it can move down as well with the air that you're putting into your core. Okay, so if you imagine it, the can's not great for this part, but when you inhale and the diaphragm moves down, it creates pressure in your core, and you want that pressure to move somewhere. And so you're relaxed through your pelvic floor to make room for that diaphragm moving down. And then when the diaphragm relaxes, your pelvic floor will contract to kind of pull back up into place. And so what I want to work on the most today is the pelvic floor aspect. And so you want to think about, there's a couple different cues, so we'll go through them and you can use the one that works the best for you. So one is to think about like zipping up from your pubic bone, like trying to zip up to your sternum. And so you think about like a little bit of a lift in your pelvic floor and then relax it. And it's kind of like a flowering or like an opening, a letting go. Another cue is to like think about trying to pick up something tiny like marbles or blueberries, and you're just trying to lift through the pelvic floor and then relax. And then another cue would be like if you were going to the bathroom and you needed to stop, then to contract or squeeze to cut off the flow of urine. So those are kind of the three. It's very similar to a Kegel, but a little bit deeper because you're trying to pull up. And so we will next try to pair that with the breathing. So does everyone feel like they were able to connect to like a working, engaged pelvic floor and then a relaxed?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the P one really like brought it home,
Yeah,
you know?
cut that off. So I think what is tricky, so we'll cover pushing when we get closer, but a lot of times like they coach you through kind of a resisted pushing where you're holding your breath, and we want to practice like on the inhale releasing the pelvic floor. And so maybe consider when you are in labor trying to breathe out, and they talk sometimes about like breathing your baby out, because as you inhale and that pressure moves down, you know, that's creating pressure to push the baby out as well. So try to be as relaxed through that part as possible. So thinking about it now, try to take a deep breath in, picture the diaphragm kind of pulling down, your ribs will expand a little bit, and see if you can release tension through your pelvic floor as you breathe in. Just do that a few times.
Just breathing in. I mean, obviously we have to breathe out, but
yeah, just
we're
focus
just
on the
focused.
breathing in. Just we'll get to the exhale next, but just focus on the breath in.
Okay. I feel like you have to think so much about it.
It is a lot of thinking at the big, you know, the first couple of times that you practice this, and then eventually it will become like muscle memory. If it helps you, we can add in the exhale now. So as you breathe out, think about lifting through your pelvic floor and kind of drawing your belly button toward your spine. So it's not quite a sucking in. It's not like up and in, trying to suck your belly in. It's an up with the pelvic floor and then a straight back to your spine with your belly button. Or if you can imagine, like when your belly gets bigger, you want to just kind of hug your baby in towards you. You're not big enough right now to really feel that, but that's what it is, like a hugging of your abdominal muscles back towards your ribs. So let's try the inhale again. Nice and relaxed through the belly, relax through the pelvic floor. And then on the exhale, think about lifting through the pelvic floor, cutting that P stream off and hugging your belly in towards you. And so that's your deep core and your pelvic floor engaged. And then inhale, relax, and exhale, hug everything back in and up.
It almost feels like a seesaw almost. And that it's like a little counterintuitive. Like you would think if you're exhaling like your whole body, but it's like a different pleasure happening.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just something that will get easier. And if you think about it's like a brain pathway to those muscles. And so the more that you practice it, the more worn down or like grooved in that pathway will get. And so we'll start each class kind of practicing that, because it will change. The way that it feels will change as your body changes. But I think if you can, you know, tack it on to when you do a workout, do like 3 to 5 breaths. It doesn't even have to be whole minutes, to kind of set up and use that time to, you know, connect to your baby if you can. Set an intention for the workout, like prepping for birth, helping you to feel better in that moment that day. Just getting some movement in, I think is really important throughout the pregnancy. Okay. So let's move on to talk about possible changes to the workout routine. and just things to look for. So I want you to keep in mind the 4 P's when you are exercising. So it's pain, any kind of pain in your joints, muscles, tendons, pelvic floor. We just want to stay aware of that and let that be a cue from your body that we should modify this movement. And so if you're not able to yourself in that session find something that's more comfortable, just send me a message and say like, hey, this is bothering me with this, and we'll kind of troubleshoot. Pressure. So pressure is okay because that is essentially what your core is doing, is managing pressure. But what we'll watch out for is a mismanagement of pressure. So one of those things is it's called coning or doming through the front of the belly. So I'll send you guys a picture. I don't know how to do it on Zoom, but as your belly grows, if you picture your 6-pack, I'm trying to look around for something, your 6-pack abs, you've got that connective tissue that runs down the middle. And if that kind of pops out, it's very slight, it's not alarming, but you'll be able to tell, then that is the start of the diastasis. And it's okay, it's going to happen. It happens to like 90-something% of women, and by the time they're in the 3rd trimester. So I don't want you to try to prevent it necessarily, but if it's happening, we don't want to make it worse. And
so we'll feel when it happens, like when it starts to happen, or the coning.
I'm not sure if you can feel it, but if you stay aware of your belly, then you can definitely feel it from the outside with your hand.
Okay.
And you can see it. I'm not sure what it feels like internally.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing like doing a workout move and I'm like, oh no, that didn't feel good or whatever, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so the moves, the high core pressure moves are anything that takes your arms overhead.
Okay.
And the things that you can do to kind of mitigate that are doing the exhale where you hug your belly in while your arms are up, because that's the highest pressure part of the move. And so breathe out, engage your core to help it keep the pressure in properly as you push up. So overhead moves, hanging moves, which we don't do a lot of or any of really, but like pull up, front loaded moves, so like push-ups, planks, mountain climbers, anything where your whole body is facing the ground. And so the way to work around that, you can keep doing that as long as it feels okay, but then you'll just incline your hands up onto a bench, onto like the bench press barbell setup. And that is a way to still get those movements patterns practiced, but just not horizontal to the ground. The 3rd piece, so we've got pain, pressure, pulling. So any kind of like pulling in the muscles of the pelvic floor. I've seen this happen a lot on mountain climbers. So the pressure is probably going to be through the front side of your body. It could possibly be through your pelvic floor. Like if pressure in the pelvic floor would be like feelings of heaviness or feelings of like needing to use the restroom, even though you don't think you need to because you just went recently. And then pulling can also kind of happen in the pelvic floor. There's a lot of tendons and ligaments in there, ones that are holding your uterus, and then others that are just being affected by relaxin, which is being released right now. So again, if it's on something like mountain climbers, I would modify yourself to a less intense angle. If it's something like the pulling is happening when you're pushing up out of squats, then first try to refocus your breathing to exhale when you're doing the work. So when you're down low in the squat, exhale to stand up, because that's the highest pressure point. And see if that helps. Any questions on those? I said 4 Ps and now I'm thinking pain, pressure, pulling. think that was it. Okay. It must be 3. If I think of a 4th one, I will tell you, but I think that's all. And this is not a P and I can't think of a word for it, but it seems like you're both aware of the relaxin.
Mm-hmm.
And so are either of you hypermobile already?
I think I'm a little bit, I've noticed like I woke up last night and like one of my knees felt like like it had been hyperextended for like quite some time in my sleep.
Okay.
And I had a friend who said something about relaxin and had talked a little bit about it. And I was like, I guess it's already happening.
Yeah.
Do
you remember like what position you were sleeping in?
I usually sleep on my side with like one leg tucked in and the other leg straight out.
Was it the straight leg?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If it keeps happening, maybe sleep with both your knees tucked up and a pillow between them.
Okay.
So the relaxin is a hormone that's released to help your joints get ready to open up through your pelvis, but it affects all joints, which if we were designing the system now, that would be like a flaw in the system, but it's just something to stay aware of.
It's also kind of like, do you really need the relaxin right now? I mean, we're just first trimester.
Yeah,
it's like,
come on.
I'm not going to push a baby out yet.
Exactly. So notes for the next system of pregnancy. So just if you're doing stretching for warm-ups or you have a position like in sleeping that you're in for a long time, like that is probably what made it. Was it achy or painful?
It was just like it wasn't painful. Like I didn't wake up because of it. I woke up and was like, it feels off.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess like achy is probably a better description. So it wasn't, and I went back to sleep. It wasn't like it kept me awake, but it was noticeable. And I was like, oh, I think I know what's going on right now.
Definitely could be the culprit. So, and that also, Kelsey, how's your pelvic pain?
It's kind of there every day.
Okay.
Not constant, but like, doing my dead bugs and my bridges for my back exercises. It's always sore right after I do the exercises, and I just assume it's because it's stretching, or I don't know how it works, but it's every day. It's not super painful or unbearable, and I can still put my pants on while standing up. So I'm calling it as a win.
Yeah. So Alex, I don't know if you're having any pain like in the front of the pubic bone.
Nothing.
Good.
There's some, I can definitely feel some mild like cramping stretching happening around my like lower abdomen uterus area, but not like nothing painful.
So definitely that is probably your uterus growing, stretching. So for sure that is a common thing to be feeling. If it gets to be like severe pain cramping, that would be a warning sign or a red flag to call your doctor about. But in the front of your pelvis on your pubic bone, basically the two sides of the hip come together at one joint and the relaxin goes there and it can make it like grind. And so I think that's what Kelsey's having. It's called SPD. And there are definitely things that you can do to help it feel better, but you can't stop it from feeling that way. So if that starts to happen to you, let me know. And there's some tips I can give you. So, okay, let's go through some of the movements. So we already talked about like the front loaded exercise where you are push-ups, mountain climbers, planks, like you can definitely still do all of those. I would just start to, maybe as soon as you notice your belly, start to incline. And it doesn't have to be that much at first, but eventually you'll probably want to be on like a bench press height or a countertop height. counter. And so just keep in mind, like you can control how much your core is engaged on the push-ups and the mountain climbers to make it can still be hard and effective at that incline. So also front loaded exercises include like front squats. So if you're here, we program those sometimes and you feel the pressure out front and unable to kind of control it or engage that way, then just put the weights at your side. And that will be not quite as front loaded. Okay. The second consideration is, it sounds like you're already aware of like limiting time on your back since you're sleeping on your side, maybe?
I just have always slept that way.
Okay.
I'm just a side sleeper. So I guess I'm lucky that way.
Yeah.
You're already ready for third trimester.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I don't think right now the babies, so the concern with laying flat on your back is that the weight of the baby will block blood flow, like your blood flow, and it can cause lightheadedness, dizziness, because it basically just cuts off the return blood from your legs back to your heart. And so lightheadedness, dizziness, tingling in like your hands and feet. And so if you're doing like a bench press flat on your back and you feel any of those, then we would want to move to an incline bench press. For the most part, we're not doing bench press for hours and hours or even minutes and minutes. So it probably, you don't need to worry about it. But if that starts to happen, then the incline bench press is a good alternative for that. Or if it's something where, you know, some days we have like 3 sets in a row of bench press, then I would just sit yourself up in between your sets instead of laying there and resting and then doing it again and then continuing to lay there to rest. Just sit up, even stand up and walk around a little bit to let the blood flow keep going. Okay. Next is impact movements like running, jumping rope. Mountain climbers would be considered impact. So this will be kind of a personal judgment. The concern with impact is you've got all these muscles that kind of line the bottom of your pelvic floor that normally are used to holding up your organs, but now they're also having to work to hold up the baby. So the concern is like the repetitive impact plus the weight of the baby adding to that repetitive impact. And so if you're feeling the pressure, like heaviness down, then that would be I would just take it to like a march or not doing the impact stuff anymore. And again, nothing is going to happen necessarily. Like, I wouldn't say it's dangerous for the baby or unsafe for you, but it could set you up for long-term struggles after birth in terms of prolapse or, you know, so just walking is great. Kelsey, if you want to keep trying to run after the race, but not on such a training schedule, I think it's fine until you feel like this doesn't feel good anymore.
Okay.
So, okay. Managing core pressure, we've talked about already. I don't think we do a lot of barbell work, but
I was going to get back into it after running.
You definitely can. And a lot of the moves that we do not involve like the path of the bar needing to clear your stomach. So I'm thinking of CrossFitters doing like snatches or clean and press or even like upright rows with a barbell. The main point of this is like, if you have to change the path of the barbell to get around your belly, you should just switch to dumbbells or stop doing those movements because you'll train that pattern and then it'll take you time after the baby to relearn the old pattern. So
makes sense.
This could apply to things that aren't the barbell, I guess. If you are having to modify a move for your belly or for other comfort reasons, maybe just think about like, is this going to set me up to have to relearn it a different way after?
Okay.
And so you can always ask me about that as well.
Or if you know, I guess if in class, if you notice that I'm like actively avoiding the belly than, and then maybe I'm not realizing it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye out for sure. So I feel like that's a lot, but I'm also working on a handout for you guys to be able to
Okay.
refer to, and I'll link it in the app as well. But also I want these meetings to be a place where if you're working out and something happens in the workout, we can address it here. You can also
Okay.
always message too, and I can get to that sooner. But if you want a more detailed explanation or time to explore it, we can do that here.
Yeah.
So let's have just general questions if you have them, or related to what we talked about or not. If you can think of anything.
No, yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been doing some at-home stuff, but I haven't even been into the gym since I found out I was pregnant after feeling just like hit by a train for like a week straight.
Yeah.
Um, which has been frustrating because I've finally gotten back into weightlifting and going to the gym in the
Right.
last year. So it's like a couple nights ago, it was just really, yeah, hard not to get in that mindset of like, I put all this work in and now I'm not going to be there for about 3 months. So that's not really a question, but more of I'm hopeful in the next couple weeks it can I can get back into that pattern. But right now it's like I can do one active thing a day, which also I do pottery, and like if I am working on that day, then like that's because it's standing and rolling out slabs, and that end of stuff just like totally knocks me down. Or walking the dog.
Yeah.
I can't imagine running, Kelsey. That's very I mean, I'm not a runner anyways, but I'm very impressed that you're doing a race.
Thank you.
I think you're doing a good job, Alex, of keeping in something that is either active or that you really love. Like, I wouldn't want you, and I don't think it would benefit you to give up potteries just so you can stay in your gym routine.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're making good decisions for mental and physical health. And you actually get fitter just by being pregnant. So you're kind of going to the gym every day. Like, your heart has to get stronger because your blood volume is increasing. Let me see. I put this in here. You get 6 to 8 pounds of extra blood volume over your pregnancy.
That's so crazy.
So just imagine how much extra work your heart has to do. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I do think that once you feel better, it will be a lot easier. So do you have anything, Kelsey?
Also not really a question, but like
we can have sharing time too. And
I've been putting all this work into working out, since 2021, and like, losing all my weight, and I don't think I'll gain all of it back. I think that might be impossible unless I'm just junk food 24/7. But it is a fear that I'm going to be starting over after we have the baby, and it's a little sad because I put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit sad. Like, obviously worth it because I'm going to have a new babe and I'm excited, but also like, what about me? I don't know.
Yeah. That is definitely a valid, I think part of it is like an identity. It's not crisis and it's not shift, but like your routines are being shaken up, both of you. And so like Alex is becoming a mom for the first time, and Kelsey, you're becoming a mom of 2 for the first time. And it's no matter what pregnancy it is, it's an identity shift in some ways. And so I do think your concern for like, who am I going to be or what's it going to be like after is definitely valid. But I also know that you are not the same person that you were when you were pregnant with Franklin, and you weren't working out then.
I was not.
And so I think this whole pregnancy will be a different experience. And the past like 2 or 3 years that we've been working together will set you up to start postpartum in a different place than you were the last time that you were postpartum. And so even though it might feel like you are starting over in terms of needing to go back to a lot of really basic things to help your core heal before you get back to classes and doing weights the way that you love to the most. I don't think that it's a starting over completely on your journey.
Okay. I mean, that does make sense hearing you say
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
but I wasn't saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, definitely you will not be able to walk into the gym and do what you're doing before you give birth the first time that you're back in there after you give birth. And it's not
That does make
because
sense.
you're not strong. Like, I think
It does feel like I won't be strong anymore, but maybe that's dramatic, but that's how it feels.
yeah. Well, it's not going to be that much time off. And I think, we start gently so that your core has time to finish healing. Like that 6-week mark where they clear people is really fast. And so we just want to kind of ease back in and I mean, you could come into Sweat Club and do a Sweat Club workout, I'm positive, at the 6-week mark. It just wouldn't be the best setup for a long-term recovery.
Makes sense.
And there's a chance, I mean, you probably won't be as strong as you were the day that you left the gym for the last time when you come back in the first time, but you won't be not able to lift any of the weights either,
Mhm.
You still
Gotta
have
carry that car seat
Franklin
around.
up. Yeah. Yeah. New baby, Franklin. So there is a lot of physical training going on just in the daily life. So, but it's I hear you. So, and because I think both of your identities are a little bit, not lost in the gym, but like that is a part of your lifestyle and a part of who you are and like something that you put value into. And so not being able to do that or not being able to do that the way that you left the gym is kind of, can be a mindset shift. So,
Yeah.
but we have programs for it. We'll get through it. Okay, I think I'm about to get cut off. Do Thursdays work okay at this time? I said 5:30 for the next one just to try to get around dinner. I don't know, but